So what happened to the last?
Hey, everybody.
There we go.
I'm gonna have my editor. We're live. We're gonna live now. I'm gonna have my editor continue. So we're just gonna give everybody a second or two to come in. Let me put a little countdown on so people can come in. Give us a second, guys. Right. So we are back, guys. We had some technical difficulties. Frank, why don't you catch us up? We got Anthony Arillotta from Genovese.
Yes.
Frank, why don't you catch us up and we'll get back where we started.
Well, we were talking about Anthony's upbringing in Springfield, Mass, and with the Genovese family. He talks about his parents were normal parents. They were nothing really mob. I mean, they knew the mob around like every Italian neighborhood does, but they weren't involved like some other people there. But like myself, you know, born into that kind of lifestyle, and he kind of had to find all that himself. And then we got into Bruno, his who was a soldier at the time with the Genovese family. That kind of like takes you in. Is that right, Anthony? Am I?
Yeah, Bruno. When I went to prison at a young age, I got out in 1991. I had a 5-year sentence. I did a year. When I got out, Bruno was the first one to come to my house. Came to my house and and he just asked me. You know, I got caught with a gun. It was some type of shooting case. I pled guilty. I got 5 years. He asked me, do I want to be on record with him? You know, Obviously, I knew who he was. I've known him my whole life. A very charismatic guy. You know, he was always dressed well. He used to come in my father's store. I took a liking to him. He took a liking to me. And I was impressed, you know, with seeing him dressed like that, coming in the store, nice cars. People always respected him. Another guy, Anthony DeLavo, he was he was just nuts. You know what I mean? He was like one of them blow off the handle type gangsters. And he was a dangerous guy. He was close with my family and he wanted me also with him. And I ended up, but Bruno was first. Bruno was like that. Bruno was no dummy. He got to me first and he put me on record with the Mafia, with the Genovese family, the Springfield faction. He put me on record with them. And he went to the boss at the time was Skyball Chevelli. He went to Skyball and got permission. Skyball okayed it, and then that's how I got that. 1991 was when I was formally introduced as I wasn't proposed then, but I was put on record with the Genovese family.
Wow!
And then I just started doing that stupid shit with them. You know, numbers, sports,
making your bones.
Well, no, I wasn't making my bones. It was just, you know, I was hustling money. You know, we did the loan shark. You know, Bruno was always taking the lion's share. You know, there was like 4 partners. He was 1 and we were 3 and he would get 50% and we'd chop up 50%. Yeah. So, I mean, if we brought in 10,000 a week, he got 5, we got 5, but we had to chop ours up 3 ways. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, he was no dumb. I mean, later on that all changed, but, so I just started, you know, doing the sports, that type of stuff, the organized crime,
gotcha, the loan shark,
the loan shark, the numbers, and but my main
couple of scores here and there.
Yeah, but my main money had nothing to do with the mob. My main money,
I was never money. So you were a money guy.
No, not my legitimate money. My illegal money had nothing to do with the mob. I was a big marijuana distributor. I sold a lot of marijuana, and Bruno had no idea. I never gave Bruno a penny out of that money. That was all me. That was all my money. I became very successful. I became a millionaire selling that, and Bruno never made a penny with that. Yeah.
So hold on real quick, because there's a lot to unpack. Because I want to get.
Well, fill us in.
Well, we're about to escalate, but I got to ask Frank a question. Okay, so Frank, you're a Sicilian brethren. You're, you know, Castellamare, Del Golfo. You know, you're supposed to be a mafioso. You're supposed to be a knockaround guy. You're supposed to be this. You get into the life. It makes perfect sense. I got a dumb question to ask Frank for a second. Anthony's father was a fruit guy, a nice, good guy like myself,
hard worker,
working guy, entrepreneur, right? Did it kind of piss you off sometimes that a guy that wasn't from the street or a guy that was a regular Italian guy kind of got in and you got to the same place where you had like the bloodline and the brethren, or did it not matter?
No. Because you see, even though I was doing stupid things and really didn't care money wise, I wasn't a money guy. Everybody knows that. I'm telling you, I wasn't. But I knew who was. So I knew the path was easier for Anthony. But even though where I would have been a money guy, would have been easier for me by 25, 26 to be inducted into the life. Like some other people, it took Anthony until he was 35. And a lot had to do was because of his family. You understand? They weren't the bad people, but they weren't involved people.
Got it. All right. So Anthony, take us, because now you're making money.
I was just a fuck
and
up.
just one point on that. Just because you have family that's involved in the life,
absolutely.
It doesn't make the son capable. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, Frank, you were capable. You had bloodlines that were there.
I was too capable.
But there's
that
a
was
lot
the
of
problem.
Guys, right? There's a lot of guys that fall on. You know, the apple falls far from the tree. It doesn't fall.
I played underneath the kitchen sink too much.
Right. So he, you know, just because you're family doesn't mean. And I'm going to tell you another thing. A smart mafia guy doesn't want his family involved. Like, I wouldn't want my son to be made. Vincent the Chin. No. I want it. I would put my son in all legitimate businesses.
Yeah.
I would not, you know, I'm talking maybe back in the day, them guys, it's different. But if you talk to Vincent the Chin, when John Gotti said he made his son, and Vincent the Chin told him, I'm sorry to hear about that. You know what I'm saying?
No,
and Vincent Gigante's kids weren't made. He had them around
of course.
The legitimate stuff, you know. So I mean, I don't think, you know, but anyways, that's what my point with that.
You would think, right? And I know smart people that have made that mistake by having their kids in that life. And it bit them in the ass. We'll talk about that when we talk about you know, the debacle. But back to you. Yeah, if your family was in the life and you would have been 25 and 26 in the Bonanno family in 1990, bet your ass you would have been made with that kind of credential.
Right.
And the whole weed angle, that would have meant nothing. That's well, as long as it's not heroin. But go ahead.
I got proposed at a young 1990. I think it was proposed, meaning officially, like they were gonna, you know, I was on a list to get made, and that happened in 94, 93. So 93, I was 25 years old.
Holy shit.
So I did get put
Makes sense.
I did get proposed at 25. Now I got taken off the list because I got caught with the marijuana. Then I got put back on the list. You know, so I mean, it was like, so I see your point. And New York, don't forget, New York has 5 families. They need numbers, strength in numbers. They want it. So when a guy is capable in New York, of course they want to scoop him up and get him made into the family quicker.
You were definitely a good candidate, if you will.
Yeah.
A very good candidate.
Right.
Yeah. And what happens then? I mean, you get into the life. Let's talk about the induction and what happens at the induction ceremony.
Yeah.
Well, that came way later. There's so much
I've heard of them. I've never been to one.
Yeah. So in our area is Western Mass. Yeah. Now, a lot of guys that get made in our area. In fact, a lot of Genovese families in New York, Matty the Horse. You know, heavyweight guys. You know, bosses.
Sure.
Frank Serpico. When they say they were in jail with a guy, like there was this one guy. I don't even want to say his name, but Matty the Horse was around them. The guy's a complete jerk off. Anyways, they ended up, he was always dying to get made.
Not in the mob.
Right. So Matty the Horse was in prison with the guy.
Oh.
And so they could have made the guy. Matty was you know, a boss at one time, powerful captain and this and that. So they could have made the guy in New York, right? But the guy was from Connecticut. So what they did was when Bruno took over in 2001, they wanted Bruno to make him in this faction.
Oh, wow.
Right, because he was from Connecticut. Now, they could have took him down to New York and straightened him out. But they wanted him to get straightened out under Bruno, maybe because Matty the Horse didn't want to sponsor him. You know what I mean?
Wow, politics.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
But So a lot of in our area, the boss, like I said, is a captain, but he's the boss here. He has the authority to make, as long as he gets permission from the bosses in New York, and you're proposed, he can make you. He can straighten you out. Okay, that's what the guys in my area, the young wannabes, like when we were young, and we watched all these gangster movies, and we started living the streets, and we saw the gangsters, and we wanted to be with them. Right. So you want to be made. If us got made, we would get made in Springfield, Mass, by the boss, which is the captain in the family, a boss here. He would have made us. And that's what happened to a lot of guys. They all got made here. So we're jumping way ahead. When I got made, and like I said, so much shit happened, but I got made in New York City in the Bronx.
Oh, wow.
And how that happened, it's like we would be talking till tomorrow, how everything took place. But in the short version, when Bruno took over as boss, he got New York involved more. We started doing more shakedowns and extortions, and it got really big. And then New York people don't believe when I say this, not that they don't believe it, but they can't believe it, that it's true, that we never gave money to New York.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. It's true, Tom.
I don't know. He doesn't believe it sometimes. I tell him that some gangsters don't want money because they really don't. If they have a lot of it, sometimes they don't know where it's coming from, and they get a little bit like, I mean,
the bosses in New York had money, number one.
True.
So if you're so they didn't bleed their captains, for the money. They were all multimillionaires, number one.
No, I definitely get
broke.
that.
Now, if you got a broke bum of a boss, he's going to strangle his soldiers. He's going to strangle his captains. They're going to strangle their soldiers. They're going to strangle their associates. Right.
I was around the
Genovese family. That's why they consider them the Ivy League, the best. Because if you look at it, the top tier, all are multi-millionaires.
Multi-million, yeah.
I mean, all of them, right? So do you think that they don't even want to get involved in taking money from an underling and get involved in some type of conspiracy? I mean, they don't even want to.
100%. Right. 100%.
Right.
100%.
So they never gave money. When Bruno became boss, that's New York started becoming. All I can say is there was this one bad apple that really destroyed everything in our area. And there's nothing wrong with Bruno bringing in New York. Fine. He brought in New York. I was at the first sit down when Bruno became boss in 01. I was there when they made him boss. I was there when when he became official boss of our area. So I was also there when in New York City, when we were at dinner and they told him, they gave him permission to shake down 2 guys in our area for $500 a week. That was it. That's all. And that's how it all began. That $500, which was $1,000 a week, became $50,000 a month. That's how much we were shaking down these legitimate businesses.
Wow.
And
sports
I'm pretty
guys,
sure,
right.
And I'm pretty sure they were aware of the fact that you, Anthony, had a drug pinch already, right? Back in the day.
Yeah, I got arrested in '96 for they came to my house. They found like 40 pounds of marijuana. They found some ammunition. Bruno wanted to kill me. It was funny. I could tell so many funny stories about that. But he banished me for everything. He banished me in '96. I wasn't yet a millionaire then. He banished me. I became a multimillionaire by '98. I was banished from the mob. Okay, I met all kinds of mob guys. I met all kinds of maid guys. I met all kinds of guys in everybody's family. I was in New York. I was meeting underbosses in New York. I was meeting not bosses. I was meeting captains. I was dealing all in marijuana. I was in the marijuana business all the time. That Bruno shelved me. We call it shelved. He shelved me. So I'm going to Boston. So when the case comes to court in '98, the informant that they had against me was no good. I end up getting the case dismissed. Bruno was in prison. He gets out of prison in 1990, end of '98, right around there. He sends for me down at his restaurant. He was on not furlough, but not house arrest. Like when you get out of prison and you're work release. He was on work release. So he was down at his restaurant. He sends me to come see him. He asked me, "You beat the case?" I said, "Yeah." I told him what happened. Foreman was no good. He was another double agent. Like these guys that we got here, it's one family too. I'm going to bring them up to at one point, but they try to work with the cops and everything, right? So he said, you want to come back around me? I said, yeah, okay. He goes, you all done selling drugs? I said, yeah, which I wasn't. I was selling mad amounts of marijuana, hundreds of pounds a week. I'm telling you, it was a very lucrative. Just do the math. I was selling maybe
that's a lot of weight.
One day I would sell like 300 pounds. It'd take me 3 hours. I'd sell 300 pounds. I make 400 a pound. I make 120,000 in one day. I mean, I was making big money. Right. I mean, it's like I made big money. So everything else didn't matter. Like when people say that I was involved in the mob, I could give two fucks about the mob. But I was Italian, and that growing up, that camaraderie of being a brotherhood, and you want to be part of it, and so that still was kind of like lingering there. But when it came to the rackets and making money and having balls to go out and collect your money if someone said they're not going to pay you, or if someone fucked with me and to take a gun and go shoot them or stab them, like I said, I was all doing that without the mob. I did it all when Bruno banished me in 96 to 98. 98, like I said, he comes around. He says, you want to go, what are we going to do? Sports. I'll give you 25%. I said, no, if I'm coming back around, I want 50. So we went, you want 50? Yeah. No, not a half sheet. It was, most of the customers were his customers, but he wanted.
Oh, okay. Well, that was generous. That was generous.
Right, but I
was given a half sheet, and we went through Vinny Asaro.
But those are your customers. Those are your customers.
Yeah, we had to get our own customers, though. Yeah, and I was the worst one out of all of them. Gambling my ass off.
Me too. That was my thing.
Anthony, this is important. I want to kind of follow the iterations. So you're making a ton of money, right? But I get it. You want to kind of go into the mob stuff. Why didn't the mob? And this is what I find ironic. Yes, Springfield, to go northern to Canada, were big drug dealers. They were Cosa Nostra. Like, it's kind of like, was it a Genovese thing? They didn't want to get involved with the mob, or was the mob truly out of drugs by then, in your opinion?
That who don't want to get involved with.
Because so you were not supposed to deal in.
Right. So I'll tell you real quick. When I got made, at my ceremony, I mean, he brought up two things we don't do, two rules that we don't break. And he says, if you break these rules, you forfeit your life. And he said that at my ceremony with the gun and the knife at the table, the finger, trick, you
had the whole ceremony.
Right. But he said, if you deal in drugs, you forfeit your life. Now, what I don't understand is, like, you have to evolve in times. And I get it. If you fuck with heroin, sure. Even cocaine, it does bring big sentences, but it's not a harsh drug. Crack, yes. Smoking it and all that shit, yes. These guys, I never did it. I don't do drugs, but
right. No. Right. I said it before. So, I tried cocaine with a
marijuana, as we all know, is legal now everywhere, just about.
Yeah.
It's right. And I'm not saying it's okay for someone to do. I mean, if you can handle it and you want to do it. I don't smoke marijuana. I can't. I have bad reaction. I tried it and it doesn't agree with me. But that's not narcotics. And if you go by the law. So when I got out of prison back in the 90s, I was around all these Irish gangsters in Boston. We had a big population, Irish gangsters, Italian gangsters. We had Italian club, Irish club. The whites were big had a big presence in Massachusetts state prison. So I was around this one particular Irish guy, and he's the one that was, I learned a lot. At 21 years old, I went in, 20 or 21. I went in 1990.
Were you in Walpole?
I was not in 21, no. You get processed there, but you move on. Back then it was Concord and then you move on. And Walpole back then, Walpole was a dangerous place. I mean, they were killing people there, like penitentiaries and the feds, those serious penitentiaries. Yeah, they were killing people there. And it was all mostly like people that I met. One guy I met, this guy, David Weichel, he's a well-known South Boston Irish mob. He's not a mobster, but he's a gangster. He's in that Irish thing. He showed me when you get in trouble, you get a disciplinary D report. They call it D report. And so it would be like you got in trouble, and then you have to go in front of the administration, and they give you, like, if they're going to send you in the hole, you're going to have to do a year in the hole. And he showed me his first D report was for murder. Back in the 70s. Yeah, his first one was for so
in the can.
I learned what?
In the can.
In prison, yeah. I met a guy in prison.
That's pretty impressive. But
I met an Irish guy in prison. He was 5'3", and I was walking with my friend Brian. Brian was one of those dangerous Irish thugs. and he was the real deal. He was like, you know, he had a lot of respect amongst the underworld in Boston area and everything. Great reputation. So I met this guy. He's 5'3". You would have thought you could have slapped the guy and you would have knocked him out, right?
Right.
So as we're walking the yard, I met him, and then we walk a little further after we get away from the guy. And Brian says, Anthony, when you see that kid, keep it quick, be respectful, say hello, but get away from him.
And kick rocks, yeah.
And go. And I'm like, why? He goes, that guy in prison alone, he murdered 7 people in prison.
Jesus.
Yeah, and he was one of those delusion, like he was a one of those paranoid, schizophrenic people.
Yeah.
And what he was doing was a new guy would come in. This was when they were all at Walpole. I heard all the stories from all of them.
Yeah, me too. I heard him from Salami. A lot of them. He spent 17 years there.
Yeah, right. He got back in the 60s and exactly. And it was a dangerous place. But it was also a great place if you were respected street guy.
Sure.
This guy would come, somebody new would come in. And this guy that I was telling you about, this guy 5'3", his name was Mikey. He would come to all the guys and say, hey, I just got word from Whitey. Now this is coming from what the guy is telling me the stories. He goes, I just got word from Whitey. The guy's coming in as a rat. He wants us to take him out. Boom. They all stabbed the guy to death. And they used to bring him on the tier. They used to make everybody stab him. So everybody participated in the murder. So in case something happened. So next thing you know, the guy got stabbed like 80 times, you know. And then the next thing, the guy came in and, Whitey sent word, this guy's a child molester. And they killed him. And after
Whitey put probably 75% of those guys were doing
but it wasn't true.
In jail.
After the 5th one, he went back they started checking. Whitey wasn't sending.
Ooh, we cut out a sec.
That's pretty good stuff though, Tom.
Oh, great stuff. Oh no, we're gonna edit this nicely and come out with some really
people.
Nice. Yeah. So go ahead, Anthony.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, he loved killing people. There was no truth to it. He was just a homicidal maniac.
Yeah, it's jail. That happens.
Yeah. So, anyways, where were we getting at then? Where were we going?
We were well. We're back to you. You were in the jail. You're going back. You come out. You're made at this point.
Hold on. I want to go through the ceremony. I wanna thank you, Mo. Oh, by the way, feel free to send any super chats. We're taking care of these guys for coming on. It helps us get a better show, gets us better guests. So feel free to drop any super chats, gets invested back into the channel. So anything you guys send for super chats is greatly appreciated. So really quick.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, it's all about content. It's all about people, all you content creators all around the YouTube world, especially with the mob stuff. These guys don't do it for nothing. I mean, they put their content, and some of them take a lot of hours of work to produce what they produce. And there's a lot of good ones out there. O.C. Shores, Jeff Nadeau, Tom Lavecchia. There's the kid who does his own thing. Who's the other guy? The FBS. They all do the stuff. There's many of them, but they do it so it's time consuming and to get good quality or to get good content. Sometimes you got to pay for it, and these guys can't come out of pocket all the time. So, good job, guys. Good job. I like your shows. You just keep me entertained at night anyway. I like them a lot.
Exactly. So when you were, getting proposed the second time and you eventually got made, walk us through that whole process, if you don't mind.
So Bruno had proposed me when he became boss. There was 2 other guys that the prior bosses, Babish Shabelli and Anthony DeLavo, they had gotten arrested on a RICO case. So that's how Bruno got the position as being boss. But prior to that, there was these 2 guys, Reno Saravalo and Joey Bazil. They were supposed to get made. Now, fast forward, Bruno becomes boss. He proposes me. So now there's 3 of us. Now Bruno's boss. A lot of shit happens. They all love Bruno. Then they all don't like Bruno. And then they want to take Bruno down. So there's all kinds of shit going on. In the meantime, the guys that are coming up from New York, they're coming up every weekend. And it was this crew of them. And when they came up, they would meet up. They would go, like, they had to send Bruno a message. So we'd all get together and eat dinner with Bruno. And then afterwards, we'd all go out. I was the one that was always taken. We'd go to the strip club. We'd go to, bar, hopping around to the different bar restaurants.
The library, the community center.
Exactly, right. So it was a good time too. I mean, we had a nice area. There was a lot of bar restaurants. We owned them, or guys that were involved in with us somehow were owned them all. So we were treated very well. When these guys from New York came up, they saw how we were treated and the money that was being made in our area, and they got green eyes and they got very jealous, and they were trying to get a hand on that.
Oh,
And
sure.
you could see it coming. You could see it coming.
Yeah.
Bruno didn't see it coming, because he was the boss, and he probably didn't think, he thought he was all set. He had a couple guys in New York that he was good with, but he didn't see what was going to happen. What happened was he didn't see this coming. Nobody could really see this coming. Was one of at this time, bosses went in, the chin was away. This guy Quiet Don was the boss. They started using a panel of 3. One of the panels of 3 was going to prison. So he put one of these guys that was just a soldier, he promoted him to be a captain. It was unheard of. But he was very close with this guy. So he wanted him to fill his position while he was going to go do the 5 years. Bruno had no idea that this was going to happen. And when this happened, this guy didn't really care for Bruno as much as Pat DeLuca, who was a captain at the time, serious captain, high-ranking captain. He, boss material type guy. So when this guy was a little bit younger. This guy at the time was in his 50s. Bruno was in his 50s, and he kind of saw flaws, and he was getting told a lot of bullshit by the guy that was coming up to our area as a messenger, going back and forth. So that's when the plot started happening. And when this plot started happening, and when they were coming up, they saw when they came up who was taking them out. Me. Where did I take them? I took them. I had the biggest nightclub in Connecticut. I had restaurants that I owned silently, that I had 5 restaurants that I was a silent partner in. Oh, wow. I had all street crimes, all the street business that you could think of. I had, including drugs. I had the biggest crew. I had guys everywhere, guys in Connecticut. I had guys in Boston. Now, when I say guys, I had friends and powerful friends all over the place.
Yeah.
They call it my crew. I call them my friends. They weren't my crew. You could call us all a crew, because we were all friends.
Yeah. I got you. There was more to it than just
right. They didn't report to me. I didn't order them. If I told them to go smash someone's head, I would go with them to go smash the head. So it was that.
And I could see that. I grew up with a kind of a same kind of crowd. It wasn't we were with this one, we were with that one. When we had to do it, we all went together,
Right. And I did all the hits I did, all the murders that I pled guilty to and were involved in. I went with them, and I was the shooter in some shootings where some other guy was just the driver. So I wanted to ask somebody to do something that I wasn't going to participate in myself. Maybe years later, if I was a boss of when I became older. And you want these young guys to put into some work. Yeah, I mean, I get that. So
it works that way.
When the guys in New York were coming up, they saw what I had. When they were going back down to report, they started telling these bosses and captains in New York, saying, this kid is the kid you guys should be straightening out. This kid has everything. This kid has, so now they're seeing what I had. And I didn't care either way, because I'm telling you, I had the greatest life. That if I could go back, I wouldn't change a thing about my life except for the violence and joining the mob. Other than that, I would choose every crime I did, every single other thing I've done, except for the violence and joining the mob. Listen, it's like the most greatest life there is. Anything you want, you have. All the money you want.
I agree.
Woman, food, cigars, booze, traveling. There ain't nothing that isn't there. So
I agree.
So as this is going on, I'm having the time, I'm just having a great life. I'm living a great life. Well, they're plotting to take Bruno down. All this scheming is going down. Well, what happens, all this is going down. There's a guy in New York that they want to have killed. So the 2 guys that they had on the list, this Joey and this Reno, Joey ran away. Joey, forget it. But once he knew that there was going to be real shit going down, and they all cooperated too. And I'm going to come out with all these stories about all this stuff too, how these guys testified at the grand jury, how the brother proffered and got out of doing his time, all this, they want to go around labeled.
Oh, you mean the plea for a day?
Yeah. Well, they proffer and they get themselves out of trouble, and then they go and sit in front of a grand jury, but no, they're not a rat, and everything is okay. So he runs away, and and Reno was a nice kid. I always liked Reno. But they run away, and they aren't gonna participate in this murder. So I go to my other two friends right away. They're like me. I go to them and said, "Hey, I got to kill a guy. You want to come with me?" "Yeah, no problem." And boom. So we go to New York. Long story to make it quick. We go to shoot the guy. We shoot him 9 times. He doesn't die. Right on the streets of New York. That happened
9 times.
In May. That happened. Yeah, and all the shots hit him from here up. I mean, he was in the car sitting down. They came through the window. They all went bing, 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 all the way up in his head. I don't know. He didn't die, thank God.
So I knew somebody got shot 9 times too.
That happened like in May of 2003. That's what got me made into the family. That shooting right there that I did for the boss, or the bosses.
Yeah.
Got me made in August of 2003. So that's how I got made into the family. That right there.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. And
wow.
So
you get your button, or no, I want to go. You call down in New York. I want to almost slowly go through the making process, because there's not many guys. I know there's a lot of guys out there, but not a lot of guys that got their stripe. Give us the actual ceremony and what happened.
So the guys that were coming up were really pushing for me. What's funny about this, and no one's going to believe me when I say it, everybody was pushing for me to get my button except for me. Like, I just took it as, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
And if you think of why I would say that, is because I had a great life. I had everything I wanted in life. If it happened, it happened. I was just that type of guy. That's my personality. So I didn't need the button. What did I need the button for? So it was like, but everybody else that was pushing me, the guys that were coming up from New York, they wanted me to have it, because you know why? If I get made under the boss in New York, now I have to answer to him, and they have control over me, and they can, if they tell me, and they have access to more money here if they want it, which they never got no money from me. They can. I made 10 when I got made and became the top guy here. I made 10 times more and gave 10 times less than Bruno ever did. So I switched it all around on them. And, not that I'm any smarter than anybody. That's the way I did it, and I got away with it. And, they never had none of my numbers business, none of my sports business, none of my shy business, none of my pop business. The only thing they got was the same thing Bruno was giving them, only less.
Now, Anthony, do you think, and I think about this a lot, because I think about the first time we interviewed on the old show, do you think the guys in New York, because they did well, they were money guys, they did well for themselves, do you think they didn't really want much money or no money because they wanted to stay away from Rico, and like they could say, hey, you know what? This is not an organization. He's not give us anything. Or why do you think they weren't pressing you for big money?
Me personally, or our area?
Yeah. Why do you think New York didn't press your area for big money for a number of years? I feel
because the bosses had money. The bosses were.
That happens. I told you that.
Yeah.
I was
listen,
two
if you
guys
look at the other families, if I heard stories, I was in prison with guys. They used to strangle their soldiers. They had to give them a piece. Even Bruno, if you really think about that, in our area, Bruno would want a piece of everything you did. So yes, in our area.
Yeah.
But it didn't apply to me because the marijuana was where I made all the money. And Bruno got 0% of that. What do I care?
Yeah. What kind of money were you making total? And what were you making total per year, your best year? And how much of it was legal and how much of it was illegal?
I could never put a one figure on it.
Yeah, that's
illegal
business.
I'm going to tell you.
How about per month?
Listen, I'll just give you an example.
Per month.
One day in the marijuana business, I made $470,000. One day. Okay. So
I don't think I ever made that.
Another day in the marijuana business, I could tell you a dozen times that I made over $200,000 in one day. A dozen times where that happened, just in the marijuana business. Now, if you talk about scores, like when guys go and rob banks, I could tell you a dozen scores where I might have had a partner, maybe a couple, but those figures went from anywhere from 100 to a half a million, in jewelry scores, robbing jewelry, robbing drug dealers, we were big at robbing trucks, so
that's
you
a
have
Boston thing.
But
like the
I'll tell
banks.
you
I
this,
mean,
I would,
for example,
yeah, I
friends
never
of
would
mine
rob
with
a
the
bank.
banks.
Yeah, I would
Not
never
very
do that.
profit. Not very not very pushed upon. I told you
To
that
me, it's
before.
kind of
Gangster.
stupid. I mean, you're better
Yeah.
off kicking a drug dealer's door in and, in trying to, a drug dealer than going into a bank and trying to get the money.
Oh, 100%. That I took more pleasure in robbing a drug dealer than I never my friends robbed banks. Okay,
Right.
They robbed the same bank 3 times.
Yeah.
So, and they got
Well,
it was an inside job. Huh?
Charlestown, Mass is the armored car robbery in the world.
Oh, forget it. Yeah,
Am I
I know
right?
that.
Yeah.
I know that. The movie
And
The
a lot of
Town
those
is
guys
based
I
on
was in prison
Charlestown.
with, they're all crazy Irishmen.
Oh yeah,
Good kids,
yeah,
They're good kids. They're ballsy kids. Good kids.
So hold on.
Yeah,
I want to hear it. You go down to New York. Did you know you were getting your button that night? The movies and stuff. But what happened then?
So they were pushing for it, and all this. There was a lot of shit going on, and it's kind of big shit because they're looking to take a boss in our area down, break them, break them to from a captain to a soldier. And as that's going on, they're trying to do it where he doesn't know, so he can't. And which he did find out. He was going to like Mario Gigante, and he was reaching out to other bosses in New York. So as this is going on, they know they need me in the area because they didn't really have the other talent that they had. They didn't have crews, weren't really capable of murder. Older guys. I was young and I could keep everything together because I had the young guys all, I could control all the young guys. So they were pushing hard for it. And then I started going down to New York more and more. I started without Bruno. See, that's when it started happening.
Oh, wow.
I started going down to New York without Bruno, having dinners with the bosses. And they would ask
that's
me
when the
about
talk
Bruno.
happens.
Yeah, but I never badmouthed Bruno. They wanted me to lie. This piece
Of
of shit
course,
that used to come up. He
Yeah.
used to come up and say, tell him Bruno. I go, listen, I'm going to sit down at these sit downs and meet. I'm not lying about nothing. They ask me a question, I'll tell them what's going on, like with us and our area and this and that, but I'm not making up stuff. And I never did that. I would never do that. But that's the game that they were on. So think about how treacherous that is.
You know what I call that, Anthony? That's the you think Maury tells his wife about everything moment? Like in Goodfellas? When's that happen for you and Bruno?
What do you mean?
Like when they're already planning to do something to him.
Well, yeah, the only thing they were planning was just to knock him down from a captain to a
okay.
soldier.
I thought, okay.
They weren't looking to clip him.
Oh, they weren't?
No. They weren't looking to clip him. They were just looking to break him. And what they were going to do, they were going to put this other soldier that was made back in the 70s, early 80s, this guy named Felix. He didn't have no crew. His crew was soft. He wasn't a money maker. He was had nothing going on, nothing. But as a figurehead, what they were going to do, but they could control him. You follow what was going on? It's all about control. It's like the elites that control the world and they want control over all of us. That's what they wanted. They wanted control of our area. So what they did was they were going to break Bruno. You know what that means in our life. Break him means, strip him of his rank, right?
Yeah.
And they were going to put this guy Felix, right. So they were going to put this guy Felix as the captain, the boss of our area, only in name only. It didn't mean shit. Because I was made, and we're jumping ahead when I got made. I'm telling you, this was the thing going on at that same time, but only in name, and I was going to have all the power. The reason they didn't want it to be known was because they want to insulate me. They didn't want me to have exposure to law enforcement, because you know what that means. You get the flag, say, "Come get me," and I'm the guy.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Right. So there was no no shit going on, nothing. Everything was nice. Everything was, and then they wanted to break Bruno and all that shit was going to happen.
Thank you.
So as it's going on, they tell me it's going to happen on a Saturday. Be in New York at this steakhouse at 11 o'clock in the morning. Now, the guy that's coming up is telling me everything. I mean, he had a biggest fucking mouth. I mean, I had a listening device in my car, and every time I would pick him up. Now, I talked, if you came into my truck or my car, you couldn't talk to me about business. I would just tell you, quiet, and I would never talk in my car. It just happened to be that there was a listening device in my truck.
Oh, shit.
And I used to pick this guy up from New York, and he'd always want to talk. And he goes, hey, he used to call me Junior. He used to go, hey, Junior. Hey, he's talking about, I go, I blast the radio. He goes, oh, right. He goes, yeah, right. We don't talk in here. Yeah, but he did it all the time. Come to find out, this guy was an informant,
Oh, shit.
Just so you know. Oh, yeah. Come to find out, this guy that was doing all this, he was an informant for, So this is what I'm trying to say. It's a dirty, treacherous shit.
Oh, well, no, I know.
So, and he was the one instigating all the trouble. You follow me?
Yeah.
Right, so now he says they're going to send for you. Be in New York. So what I do is I'm always sharp like that. When I borrow a car. Boom, boom, boom. I switch. I drive to New York. I get there at 11. I show up at this restaurant. There's 3 or 4 captains there. Some of them I didn't know. I introduce myself. They introduced me, and there was 3 other guys that were sitting. There was 3 other guys at the bar. There was 4 of us that got made that day. So there was a bunch of captains and a couple of guys I didn't know and this and that. So when I got in there, this guy Joe, he says to me, you know why you're here. I told him, it's like it didn't matter. This wasn't the ceremony, but it was funny because I kind of do. He goes, yeah, this is what when they ask.
Right, you're not supposed to know, but you know.
When you're going to get straightened out, they're going to ask you, do you know why you're here? And make sure you tell them no. So he tells me that. And then he tells me to leave all my beeper. Back then it was beepers and phones, but beepers we had, and chains and jewelry. And he said, put it all in this ashtray. And you are going to go with this kid, Ralphie, and this other guy, Charlie, and this other guy. I forgot the other guy's name that got made that day. He was an older guy. Charlie was Danny Leo's nephew. So, and Ralphie was Balsamo was the other guy. I guess his father, they call him the Undertaker or whatever. He was kind of my age, Did you know him?
No, I didn't know. No, I wasn't very familiar with the Genovese family. Matter of fact, the ones out of my neighborhood were Fritzy and my friend Harry's dad. I
always talk with Fritzy. Yep.
Yeah,
Fritzy was dying to come up here. I
Maltese.
Okay.
They were involved in that detective murder. You remember?
Yeah.
In Ridgewood.
Fritzy was
there
a great
were 3
guy.
of them involved, and my friend's dad was there that day. Allegedly again, because
they beat the case. Like
they beat the case.
It was like 4 trials. That was
they didn't know they were detectives, and the guy came out a little aggressively.
That's right on the street.
And they lit the guy up. God rest his soul. Yeah, but that's what happened,
Yeah.
Even law enforcement, they got to know how to approach criminals, because if they are back and they're gonna kill you.
Of course. Yeah, you don't know.
And now that triangle in Ridgewood's called Vendetti, named after the detective. It's Vendetti, the triangle.
Venditti. I think it was Anthony Venditti, and it was a woman. It was a girl.
Yes, there was a woman who got shot as well, I think, but she was his partner. Correct. That is correct. It was in my neighborhood.
Wait, they shot a woman?
Yeah, it was the detectives.
She came flying in like that's my guy over there, like whoa, whoa, after he got shot or something like that. But they were startled. That's what happened.
Yeah.
They didn't deny that happened, but they thought they were part of a hit.
Of course.
Yeah. That was like 1987.
Broad daylight, New York City streets. I mean, of course they thought it was a
hit. That was the only Genovese people we had around, and they were right there under the train station on Seneca and Putnam for years. Okay. I think it was Putnam, or maybe Woodbine, one or the other. It's ironic because it's where they filmed the movie The Warrior. underneath the L when they're running. That's
Yep.
their club is right around there. But back to you. I'm sorry, Anthony. I just that was my little tidbit.
So where were we? We were
At the
so
steakhouse.
I borrowed a car. Yeah.
Button.
Right. So now we're in the restaurant, and then two guys go before us. Danny Leo's nephew, this guy Charlie, and this older guy. He was in his 60s actually, so he got made, late. I don't know his name though. I don't know what his name was. And so they go. We're sitting at the bar at the restaurant, and then they didn't come back. The guys that brought them to the meeting came back. Two guys in a Cadillac, two captains, picked me and Ralph up, and they brought us to this Bronx apartment building.
Oh, wow.
And they dropped us off, and they said, go ahead, walk up. They told us to walk up, and it's on like the third floor. Somebody will be there waiting for you. So we go in, we walk up, and the whole thing, I mean, people say, like, is it nerve-wracking? Yeah, obviously it's a little bit, I'm from Massachusetts. I'm getting made in New York. They're calling me, they could kill me. But I didn't do anything for them to kill me. Yeah. So I'm not thinking that, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But you hear stories sometimes about being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
It's still, you got like a little bit of nervousness in you, but you just deal with it just like you would anything else, you rein it in and you go in it. So we go up, and this guy, Stevie, he was a captain in the family. He comes up to us and he said, Rafi, you're going to go first. And he tells us to take our clothes off, to kind of like give us to make sure that, obviously they were checking for
no bugs
and everything. Yeah. And he didn't make us strip to wear no clothes. I mean, we had our boxers
But I don't understand. You're making fucking guys, but now you want them to take their clothes off to see if there's bugs. If you had that doubt to begin with, why make them take their clothes? Why even make them to begin with?
Well, I mean, they did have a ceremony in Massachusetts.
I heard about that one, yeah.
But it wasn't the made guys that were getting made. It was the actual made members that were there. You see what I'm saying? So you're right. It's kind of like, but who knows? Today-a-days, it's kind of to the extreme. Yes. But
no, it's just something.
And listen. I get it what you're saying, because listen, if the boss of the family that was at my ceremony told me to go and kill a guy for him, and I tried to go kill the guy, and I shot him 9 times, right? So you trust me to go kill the guy, for you, and I shoot him 9 times, but yet, like you said,
he's going to determine within that 1 second you drop your pants that you're a stand-up guy, or you ain't wearing them.
Now we have to do this to go to the ceremony. So it's kind of like, it is stupid, but whatever, that's what they do. So we could talk forever about why they did it. It doesn't matter.
Well, there's a lot of stupid things going on.
We did the old show, Anthony was on, and he said, and he shared the same experience, right? And anybody knows, I look at the business aspect of things, how things operate, right? I got a lot of shit. People call me up because underwear, this, that, blah, blah. I'm like, well, the West Side, how many informants do they have? Or the West Side, how strong are they? So, people knock the hustle, but they're also the strongest brigada. So, you know what I mean?
They are the Ivy League, absolutely.
They are. And they're still intact. I mean, they never had any decimated cases to them. Bad. You know what I mean? They're, so I mean, and they're still powerful today.
They're doing something
right. Their bosses. You can't get near their bosses, and they put up dummies to become bosses. And the dummies they put up run around like they're fucking Al Capone, and they end up getting indicted. And that's what they do.
I know a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Wait, Frank, real quick. Imagine real quick, you're in the street, right? And the old school Sicilian guys, the whole stripping thing. Did they ever hear? Because I remember as a civilian reading in the New York Post, it got caught that, now they're making guys in their underwear. They caught, some of the Genovese guys.
Listen good. I learned about making ceremonies in fucking mob books, okay? Yeah. No Sicilian old guys talked about that shit. Okay. I didn't even heard the word mafia. We hear that just like Cristiano Bono. That's a good guy. That's a good old man. This and that. That's about it. No. This whole shit came about blowing up in 1985 when fucking John Gotti took it to the moon. Okay, but before that, shit was really, really secretive. Okay, and as far as that, back to like the making ceremony, I had a very dear friend of mine, one of my best friends at the time. He had like Anthony, he had gotten made, but he was like, man, I don't know if I really wanted this to begin with. So he comes up to me. I'm not gonna mention him because he's still active. He goes, I know you probably heard it around. He's fucking with me. He goes, I got. So I go straight now. Yes, so we're laughing. We have that confidence with each other. Okay, we have that confidenza. He goes, I said, all right, what happened? He goes, it wasn't all that. He goes, they drove me to the fucking end of the LIE. They looked at me. He goes, he told me this. He goes, your cousin was there too. And he said, both of you guys are now this. Don't tell nobody yet. And that was it. And they got in their car. They left. This was Joe Massino's fucking. We'll get to him. This was Joe Massino's Mafia. Okay. And I said, that's it. You took that whole fucking that law, that whole ceremony. It was like, to me, it was like getting laid for the first time, And that was just fucked me up. I thought he was fucking with me, right? So I go, how did you know your friend was made? What time the government said? Yeah, as far as that, I say he told me. He goes, he told you? I go, yeah. And who was there? I said, James Taglione, Sal Vitale. They went to the end. They didn't talk. The kids didn't talk. Who got made, but the other two goes. So they cooperated. They said, I didn't know until I was. They asked me. They go, this guy was made. I said, yeah. And they asked me again. So obviously they corroborated the story with these two fucking mutts, Sal Vitale and Taglione, and they got the story. Yeah, that's what happened. That's how they got made.
Interesting.
And the Bananas had a lot of guys that flipped back then. Like they all went one after another, all the way up into Joe.
Oh, yeah, within a 2-year period, Tom knows the story. They went
from being the strongest family. They were saying. Like he built it back up. The strongest
he built
family,
it back. Joe Massino did.
Secret, no social clubs. Everything was quiet, and then they just got ruined.
When I was the second superseding indictment to my case. They brought in Coper and Cantarella. You guys are familiar with them. I've spoken about this already. You guys can catch it on Tom's show. I don't want to take it away from you. This is basically we're here for you, Anthony. But at the same time, it was they were the two first to talk in the history of the Bonanno family. This was 2000
first ever,
ever made members to talk in 2002, and then after that it just went down like dominoes. You could hear about that, whatever. And yes, Joe Massino was at the time the biggest mob boss within a 5-year reign. Of course, the Gigante was your guy, but he was in jail.
He was
in prison, correct?
Yeah.
So Joe was not, and I kind of knew Joe through he was my co-defendant. We went to a lot of co-defendant meetings over a year and a half. I really had not many dealings with him on the outside. I've gotten close, and there was a lot of questions I'd like to ask him after I found out he flipped. But then you get to meet Joe.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. It's a big part, and guys, do not go anywhere. And put some super chats through because you have no idea. If we get this going and we take care of these guys, we're gonna.
All right, and all I want to say is this: Anthony has a lot of questions you people want to answer.
Yep.
And the main one, the why. So go ahead, Anthony.
So you're at the ceremony. Walk us a little more. The what is it? The guns.
Right. So then it was my turn. Get to your boxes, put the bathrobe on, walk out into the this room, and it was like a social club setting. It was an apartment, like a studio apartment with with a when I got in there, that's all I remember.
Hey Scott, fuck Joe Bonanno. He was a rat anyway.
Anyway, keep going.
Sorry.
So I go in, and there was 2 captains there, 2 guys sitting at the table, Pat DeLuca and Artie Nigro. Artie was the acting boss. there's questions about that if he was acting or official, because when this guy put him up to take his spot, when he went to the panel and they said, well, you know what? You're not acting, you're official. Tell him he's out when he comes out. So that's the word I got. So anyways, they call him acting. Could have been acting. He could have been boss, but official. But him and Pat were sitting at the table. There was a gun and a knife at the table. They asked if you know why I was here. I said no. And then they got into the ceremony. Well, we're part of a secret society, very powerful society. You want to be, it's a brotherhood. You want to be part of it. I said yes. And, I don't know exactly how it, but, as things were going on, if the family boss of this secret society asked you to kill for him, would you kill for the family? And I said yes. He said, what trigger finger would you pull the trigger with? I said, this one.
Wow.
He pulled out a pin, or I think it was a pin, drew blood out of my finger, put it on like this tissue with a saint that was there, but it was the blood went on a tissue, and then he put it in the palm of my hands, and he said, and then he told me what he was going to do. He goes, I'm going to light this on fire, and you're going to repeat after me. As you're repeating after me, go like this with your hands, so your hands don't burn. And so he did. He lit it up, and he repeated after me. I'm entering into this organization, this secret society. I'm taking an oath of omerta. If I break this oath, I will burn like this saint, this tissue in my hand. It was quick. When I was done, you put your hands, he told me to do this. So you put your hands together and rub them like this. And what happens is you get black ash that's kind of like burnt into your hands. Because I had it the next day. I showed this fat pig when I got back the next day. I should have never showed him. He ended up, him and his whole family are a bunch of rats anyways in my area. And I'm gonna talk about that in another podcast. But anyways, it went like this with my hands, and I had black on them. So after that, and then there was rules, and there's other things like if your family, if your wife was giving birth to your son, a baby, and she was on her hospital bed, and we called for you, would you come, leave her at her hospital, but would you leave her and come to us? Yes. If we told you to kill your brother, would you kill your brother for us? Yes. If we told you to leave a loved one on the deathbed and they were dying and we called for you, would you come? Yes. Told me the things about dealing drugs and counterfeit money. Told me about fucking around with other people's wives and girlfriends. Told us how we don't meet up. This is after I got made. Then once they got made, we stood up, and they both stood up, and Pat DeLuca got up and said, hello, friend. Because that's what they call us as wise guys. Hello, friend. And he gave me a kiss on the cheek. And then Artie kissed me on both cheeks. And he said, hello, friend. And, you're part of our brotherhood now. Wow. And and a thing that was big, I was direct with Artie.
Yeah.
Now, don't forget, when this all started, Pat DeLuca was the captain. Artie was the soldier. And they were great friends. Yeah. When I used to go down, Bruno, when I told you that we never paid tribute to New York, we didn't. But Bruno used to send a van full of goods down there every Christmas. And there would be, high-end wines, Opus wine, all kinds of high-end cognacs, Louis XIII, all kinds of specialty meats, homemade wines, all kinds of nice cigars. It was like packed, picture a van, cargo van packed with all that type of shit and expensive shit. So you could see where it could come to 50,000. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and he spread it around. He gave it to all the captains. Here, make sure Pat gets this, make sure this. And I used to go over to the Gigantes' houses and their restaurants and deliver directly to them.
Wow.
The products, yeah. So this was before I was made. This was like in 2000.
After you got made, and again, me being the outside guy, I heard they also do the Manatacata where everybody goes in a circle, holds hands, and then kind of.
We didn't do that.
Okay, I heard about that.
There's a great story to that.
I think we lost Anthony for a second. Anthony, you there? Tell the story while we get him back on.
Well, so when I was in a WIDSEC unit, Anthony, real quick, when I was in a WIDSEC unit, I'm not going to mention this guy, very powerful guy in the mob, turncoat, and I was looking for him. You know, I was in MCC. I was like, where the fuck this guy go? I'm looking all around, and I walk into a room. There's 5 guys in a circle, and him right there. I said, what the fuck? There's Puerto Ricans, black guys, there's everything, Mexicans. I go, what the fuck? He goes, Frankie, hold on. He goes, I'm showing these guys how the ritual goes. I couldn't believe one guy was looking at me like, come on, is this guy serious?
Yeah.
I go,
Well,
I said, come on, I couldn't believe it. The guy's a
there
little
was
nuts.
There was a story that who's that guy from Philly, the mob boss there? Not Stanford. Who the fuck was that guy? The guy that the boss there, Joey Merlino. What's his name?
Merlino, Natali, Scarfo.
Natali.
Yeah.
So Natali was in the prison, and he was still acting like a mob boss after he cooperated.
Oh.
And one of the guys that were there, this guy, I don't even know if he's still alive, but this guy was a dangerous fuck. I mean, he made a deal with the feds for killing, a couple of people, but he left out 4 murders. So he made the deal with the feds. He was on the street. His boss, Pete DeCrum, ended up flipping. This was in New Jersey, Newark, Pennsylvania, one of them areas, and gave him up on the 4 murders that he didn't tell the feds about. So they took him in, and he got fucked. He got like 20 more years on his time.
Wow.
So, but he never was a made guy, and he always wanted to get a made guy. So fucking Ralph straightened him out in one of those in one of those
kangaroo.
Yeah. He gave him his
kangaroo
button.
fucking makings.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He got his button for 10,000.
Oh my God, the guy was, but he was a dangerous fucking guy. He was a real, he was a killer.
Yeah,
he really was. Yeah. Philly
guy. Okay, so now you get your button. So I always wonder, about the pivot points and different, you make a decision, go left or right. Now that you have your button, you're a powerful guy. You now have your button. What's next? What was what did it mean for you post making?
Nothing changed for me.
Okay.
Nothing at all. I still was selling marijuana. I was still doing but what did change? My status of my area changed.
Yeah.
I started getting, I could go on and on about stories, but it started leaking out of who I was amongst the people in the know.
Sure.
And this is, don't forget, this is before any of high profile murders. The guy we shot in New York, that's they thought Albanians did it. That's not even on the radar yet. Yeah. So it's I'm just known as the same guy. Nobody even knows I'm a made guy. So nothing really changed. But then Bruno didn't know I was a made guy. They didn't want to tell Bruno. And
that's
a lot of shit
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of shit was, well, don't forget, they wanted to protect me, insulate me. Yeah. And if you figured, there's so many informants around, it's going to reach one of the informants. I'm going to say, no, Anthony got it made. Anthony got his button. And then Anthony is actually the guy here. They're all listening to Anthony. So they wanted to eliminate all that. That's why they were going to put Felix up and don't tell these guys. But I was getting introduced to gangs like Providence. I got introduced to the boss over there, Louis. I got introduced to the bosses in Boston. I got introduced to other mobsters all around the outskirts as a made man. They call you up Amico Nostro, and because you can't introduce yourself as a made guy if you're by yourself. So nothing really changed. And the only thing that changed, the guys underneath me were getting more aggressive. They wanted to, they were using my influence to further their
right. So where they want to be.
Yeah. So
I got you.
Now they know who I am. They know, they're in the know. Not these jerk offs that go on YouTube and say my story. You got this one fat jerk off that goes on the YouTube shows and takes my story like I'm talking.
Don't even talk about him. No, everybody knows he was a nobody.
Right. So what I'm saying is not those
Don't
guys.
give them
I'm
no. Don't
talking
give
the
them
real
no
guys.
air.
I'm talking my real crew that were part
Yeah.
of my
Yeah.
that were part of my my money making schemes. And
Yeah.
you can know that, and everybody will know that, like who was partners with me in their sports. I had multiple partners in sports. Who was partner with me in the shy, the Joker poker machines, the numbers
Sure.
business, all the legitimate business, all the shakedowns. Whoever was
Yeah, you were
partners with
big,
them,
Ant.
know that they were in my crew.
Yeah.
Anybody else that wasn't in partner with them were jerk offs that are just spreading lies on the internet.
Interesting. Now,
Yeah.
question for you, Frank. I know your personality. You're a little bit of a wild child, but if one of your gambade was an associate, and then he now becomes a made guy, and you're an associate, was your dick a little thicker as an associate? You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I want to hear from the associate's perspective. That help you a little bit when your guy gets a stripe back then?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, of course it did. Yeah, of course. Of course. Relatives, friends. Well, you know, you knew where to test the lines and you knew where not to. You knew where you could do whatever you wanted to do. Now you can do it.
Yeah.
You know. Not that I wouldn't have anyways, but you know where to tread on a little bit better. And that's what was probably happening with Anthony's friends. They were going to places that at the end of the day, they know where Anthony's friends. We'll do whatever the fuck we want to do.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Yeah, that's just mob 101 though.
In that type of thing, it sucks because now people that your friends and your crew, if they take advantage of you getting made,
Oh yeah.
now you still have a boss. So let's just say they put you in a bad position, your boss will tell you to kill them.
Yeah.
Now what? You gotta go kill your friend.
Believe me,
That
there was a
happened to
lot of
me.
what's up
I
with
pled
Frankie going
guilty.
on, you know. What did
pled
Frankie
guilty
do
to
last
that.
night? What's Frankie,
Right.
you know, what's up with him? Why did he fucking bet $25,000 on a game he didn't even have?
Right. And then you got
You
the
know.
other friends that are really ballsy and aggressive. That's how my two friends were. They weren't Italian, and they wanted to, like, they didn't need nothing. Like, in other words, just like I didn't need anything. Like I told you, I made millions of dollars and I wasn't nothing to do with the mob. So if I didn't need that, and I'm not the toughest guy there is, you got, you know, did they need that? But they didn't know how to make money like I did. So
Sure.
they needed me for that purpose.
Yeah.
So that's how I become an asset with them. And everything that they did with me. You know, so like people will say, you know, they were violent. Well, they didn't do anything violent without me being there. They didn't kill anybody without me being there. They didn't shoot
they didn't want to
anybody
make
without
that
me
mistake.
being there.
Yeah.
No, but they so like anything that they did, I was right by their side doing it with them.
Yeah, no, I got you. You were right there. You would tell them to do things that you would do yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I got it. I get that.
How did you wash your money back then?
I really didn't. Back then, I would just stockpile it. I had, you know, I knew the feds when they would come in, I wouldn't have nothing in my name. So, you know what I mean? I could, you know, I was making so much money that it was insane. I mean, like when you see those movies, like the only difference from me back then, I'm going to be honest, the amount of money that I was making, a billionaire couldn't live better than me. Meaning, what I mean by that is,
you had everything you wanted.
Yeah, like in other words, I could fly in a private jet if I wanted to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
He would own his private jet. So
Yeah,
he would own it, but I would rent it. I still had the money to rent.
Yeah.
He would own maybe the house in the Bahamas. I would rent a house better than his right on the water, but I would rent it. I wouldn't own it.
Yeah.
I would eat at the same restaurants as him. I would drink the best booze just like him. I mean, I wouldn't pay $5,000 for a bottle of wine, but you know what I'm saying? I would drink the best booze. I had the best woman that there were, all dimes or, you know, all top of the line girls, because in my area, and I'm not saying I'm good looking, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, I'm not saying, but we come from a smaller city, big area though.
Yeah.
Everybody knew who I was. When I walked into the clubs, they used to call me the babyface killer because the reputation was they knew people died and they knew I was responsible. I was somehow behind it. Some women like that. They would Google me and they would see like I had all kinds of, you know, they would just read it. This guy's loaded. I wasn't bad looking, and he's dangerous.
Yeah.
Women love that, and it was like
of course,
it was like I had it was like I had life was. My father always said, "You can't be a king on earth," and I was like, "Fuck!" I go, "I'm a fucking king."
You were a real life rap. You were a real life rap song.
I do.
And then it all fell apart. It all got destroyed.
I do have a question for you, Anthony, because before we get to that, you know, in New York, and Frank knows much better than me, but even in New Jersey in the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, wise guy, you can't trip without hitting another wise guy, right? You rob this on a restaurant, it's who's knows who, whatever.
Right.
Because you guys were like a single family, did it make it easier to operate because there was less bullshit in politics?
So it did and it didn't. So you ever see like the family, like a small little family, but they all bicker with each other and fight with each other.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there was one boss here. So everybody had to listen to what the boss said. I didn't listen to nobody. And I can prove that by I murdered people without the boss's approval.
Yeah.
And I dealt drugs, and they told me I would die if I dealt drugs, which was, you know, marijuana and whatever. Yeah. So, but you had a boss here that would do that. We had the Patriarcha family that's Eastern Mass and Providence, Rhode Island. But they're all great guys. We got along great with them. So it was like, and they never interfered in our business because it's huge here. Like I know it, you know, Springfield's a small city, but it's huge as far as territory. And Hartford, New Haven, you know, going into Worcester, going up to Albany. I mean, going into Providence. I mean, it's, and then the best thing about it is you want to network with other mobsters. That's how you know, if a guy that's, you know, if a guy's sharp and a guy knows how to put things together,
well,
the more
network.
people, so you want people to have shit going on. Like, what do you got going on? Oh, I'm in a weed business. Oh yeah, what do you sell? Like, and next thing you know, you got different levels. I sell shit weed. I sell high end weed. I sell hydro. I sell that. Yeah. And then you say, really, I do too. I used to sell New York all my high end weed. Believe it or not, New York used to buy all my hydro and all my higher class, like that higher upper weed. Yeah. And then I used to take all their shit weed and sell it in my areas.
Oh,
you know
wow.
what I mean? It was like, because in New York, they would get higher money for, like in my area, say a pound of hydro, I could sell it for like 30 back then, 3,500. In New York, I'd get 5,000, or they would get like 7,000. They'd sell it to those Wall Street guys and, you know, all those guys who have big money, and they would break it down. They have kids on bikes doing runs. So they would get on a pound like 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 for a pound. Whereas to me in my area, I'd get like 3,500. So I'd sell it to them for 5,000.
The weakest stuff.
Right.
Now, Anthony, so like, you know, I had the pleasure of being friends with Anthony, spoke to Anthony many a time. And Anthony, you have a good business mind, right? And the business side of you, right? You know, you think in business, sometimes I'll go into a venture and the first thing I think of, what is my exit strategy? Am I going to sell out? Am I going to merge? Am I going to this? Am I going to that? You doing the weed business and growing as a mafioso kind of contradicts. Did you have an exit strategy, or you just think it was going to last forever?
Yeah, I wasn't smart enough to have two things I wasn't smart of. When I made my first million in 1996, 97, right there. Yeah. My goal was to make the million, you know. And when I say $1 million, I probably made like a couple of million, but I mean, saved up million where you could
right in front of you.
I mean, it's like right here. You know what I mean? Right. So I made a score, like I told you, that score I made 470,000. That put me over the million mark. I got up to like 1.2.
Wow.
Nice. So it was like my biggest mistake was not having another goal to get up to the 10 million mark. Yeah. Because now I already got $1 million. They say the first million's your hardest. Yeah. So now and so now my next goal should have been go to the 10 million mark. How? And I already know how. I started doing it, real estate. Yeah. I started buying 3-family homes, and I started getting involved in. I had a biggest nightclub. I started getting involved in silent partners and restaurants. I had a restaurant down at the Cape, one of the biggest ones down at Cape Cod, Mass. I had restaurants in Connecticut. Wow. I had restaurants in Mass. So I was like really going out. But once I made the $1 million, it was like I was just living life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was like I wasn't. You know, if a guy owed me 40,000. And it became like 4:30, 5 o'clock. He said, "Hey, bro, I got your money," and I had to go to Pittsfield to get it, or I had to drive a half hour. But I had plans to go to Hartford to meet with a bunch of. I used to go out with a big, 8, 10, a big entourage of people. Yeah. I always had big entourage with me. And if you didn't call me before then, before I went and got showered up and I was going out, I'd tell you, I wouldn't even go get the money. I'd be like, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you next week or whatever. That's where I got complacent. So the exit strategy, I didn't have one as far as going forward with making more money, having goals like that. And I didn't have an exit strategy as I just took it day by day. You know, like I'm making so much money, trying to stay. You know, everything changed once I got.
I get it. I get it. Everything was going faster.
You know, everything changed in life. If you're in that life, and any street guy would know this. If you're a real street guy, and you're the real deal, you could be a drug dealer. You could be a organized crime member. You could be a gang member. You could be anything to do illegal. You could be I don't want to say white collar crime because but once you commit murder, everything changes.
Oh, you're done. You're done.
Yeah. I mean, everything in your life is over. Now, I used to wake up every day, and people will tell you I was the biggest ball buster.
It spent like you were going to the chair.
Go golfing every day, and just live life to the fullest. And then once you murder somebody, it takes that all away. Now you got
every time you go to bed, you think you're gonna get picked up. And
right.
And in my case,
it's not like for 5 years. It's like
no, it's forever. Statute of limitations forever.
Right.
It wasn't. It was 22. I was 22 years. I commit murder, and it was one of the sloppiest jobs. I don't like to get into it, but it was bad. Okay. It was horrible. I mean, it was bad. I can't believe I stayed on the streets for 9 years. That's how bad the sloppy it was. And from then on, I didn't give a fuck. I said, "Hey, look, they're gonna pick me up anyway. So either I'm gonna get killed,
I got a question.
Or go to jail."
I got a question to ask you, and then I'll ask Anthony as well. And I never asked you this before, but we'd agreed to kind of a candid interview. When you committed your first situation, right, and it happened, I've seen like it was impromptu, it wasn't planned. When you woke up the next day, how did you feel from that point on?
And it's gonna be, and I didn't feel remorseful. At that time, because at that point in life, that's what I wanted. Okay, so I wasn't remorseful. What I was I was discouraged that it went the way it did, and I had the people with me who kind of left me with I know it's not right with my dick in my hand. That's what was going on back then. Today, I wish I would have never. Not because I got locked up. Fuck that. It's because I got to carry that for the rest of my life. The act. But as far as like back then, it was that I hit an interrogation room that morning.
Yeah.
And like I told you before, it was like the first 48.
Yeah.
And when I got out of there, I was like, "Fuck you! I'm going to fucking California." You let me out. Now you got to chase me.
Yeah.
That's how bad the job was.
I want to ask. Sorry, Frank. When you're done, I want to ask Anthony that same question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Anthony. What was your first, situation when after Made Guy? What was the situation, and then how did you kind of act after that point?
About the violence?
Yeah, because I'm just wondering, like, and within all seriousness and respect, does murdering somebody change a man? Is that
so growing up my whole life, I was very violent as a kid.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows me growing up since kindergarten, I used to fight in Mount Carmel, the school I grew up with.
Yeah.
Every day we were just, I don't know, something about us. We used to fight all the time. As we got older, we were known as like we had a little gang of us down the south in the Sprinkle. We used to fight all the time.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of violence in life, and we almost, luckily, I don't know how, like a couple of the older guys in our generation in fights killed people with, in the street fight. Luckily for us, that never happened, but I don't know how it didn't because they were bad fights and there was a lot of violence. So none of the violence ever affected me. When it got to the part where I went on my first hit for a murder, and after it was over, no, getting away with it was all that mattered to me. Making it home safely and getting away with it. It didn't. The victim, the circumstances of it didn't matter.
Yeah, I mean,
my first murder that I did, that was officially like a murder, did not bother me psychologically, mentally, anything other than the fact it was, if I ran over a little kid driving and he ran in the road, I'd be devastated.
It's different. That's different.
You know,
that's
right.
different. There's
I'm killing another guy. Right. I'm killing another guy that was the first guy. He was an informant. He was trying to ruin my life. There's no excuse about that. I'm not bad mouthing him. I don't really want to get into, you know, because, you know, maybe he has a, you know, family and everything.
No, you start rationalizing. It's either you or them. And it might not even be the case, but they're criminals. You're criminal.
It was like I killed him. And after this particular one was, he was married to my wife's sister.
Yeah, you had a backstory, which we'll get into another.
Right. So it was like, and then, you know, obviously the next murder was like more touching to me because it was Bruno, and you know, it's not, a lot of it was what was written about what happened really wasn't true.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know,
hold on. This is important to guys like me. So there's two
mobologists.
Yeah, they're the mobologists in the room. So there's two kind of questions. I'll do the first, and then I'll ask the second follow-up. The first question was the 302 surrounding Bruno. Where do you land on that now?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you exactly 100%, 1,000%, 100,000,000% what exactly happened.
Yeah.
You got this fat piece of shit that comes on these interviews and tells stories that aren't true. I lived it. I was involved with it. I did everything about it. Al Bruno was dead because a 302 surfaced with him talking to an FBI agent. And that is why Al Bruno is dead. Other than that, there's no, was he a rat? Was he a rat like these rats that we have around here today that are rats that they wear wires on people, like this fucking fat piece of shit wore a wire on the guy over a loan shark in debt? No, he wasn't a rat like that. But what he was he was a whitey bulger. Bruno was the type, and just like every type of high-ranking, powerful businessman, powerful mobster, powerful El Chapo, Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
You think they weren't informants? They weren't giving up loads of
drugs,
of coke
competition,
and
drug
spots. And you don't think that they were getting their enemies up to their the government, and they weren't trying to get their enemies killed?
Those are rat moves. Look, I'm not rationalizing, but they're rat moves.
Right. So Bruno was trying to do that. He met with the FBI agent, okay, by chance. You know, or let's just go back further before the 302.
Yeah.
Okay, so people want to talk their shit like they know everything, especially this in my area, which I'm going to get this guy. I'm not going to give him no notoriety like you said now, but I'm going to get this fat bastard. But here's the thing. This Bruno was friends with this Matty Ryan, who was the head DA from 1970s all the way into the 1990s.
Yeah, he was.
He was the district ADA of the state of Mass in our area, right? Well, this guy's daughter was fucking around with one of my friend's father, and he was, he was in the cocaine business and all that bullshit. Whatever. Matty Ryan was his name. He went to the Mafia to try to get because this guy was an Italian immigrant from Italy. So he said, "You guys better control this guy. I'm the head DA. You guys want me to come at you? Blah blah blah." Yeah. So instead of giving this guy a beat, and this guy was crazy, they killed the guy. Stuck him in a trunk of a car and killed him. Guess what? Now the DA's implicated because they killed him for the DA. So they own the DA now. Okay. Now, what do you think happened when they own the DA, right? Everybody that's Italian and organized crime should be free, right?
Yeah.
Right? No. If you weren't in the faction with Bruno and the Shabellis, the Rat Shabellis and all of them, if you weren't in that faction, they'd kick you and they would put the Matty Ryan and his investigators on you, and next thing you know, those guys would go to jail. So is that a rat?
Jesus.
Is that you know what I mean? Your enemies should have been protected, but no, you sick them.
In the mob, there's no room for not being a rat.
Yeah.
There's not a degree.
Listen,
a rat's a rat. I'm a rat. There's also other rats.
People get confused by the mob. The mafia is like a corporation. It's organized crime. It's big. It's major. It's worldwide. But it's about money. It's huge. It's not only about money.
Yeah, calling a cop on your neighbor.
When you talk to
it's not as bad as putting a friend in jail.
When you talk about gangs, that's their mentality. When you talk about young guys like us growing up, Italians, that's our mentality. Once you get it in your head, Once you get it in your head, you don't become powerful without powerful friends. And who's more
All
powerful
right.
than the governor of the United States?
Yeah.
FBI agents, whatever they are, judges. So Bruno, that's what Bruno was trying to do. Bruno was trying to cultivate an FBI agent, and it backfired on him, and that's why Al Bruno was dead. Okay, and that's the truth of the story right there. There wasn't no 3 stories and people making up this and people making up. No, there's one story, one fact, and that's it. Bruno talked to the FBI. The 302 surfaced in Emilio Fusco's discovery, and when it came out, he got an extra year. He got 1 extra year. And he cried like a fucking baby. No. Emilio Fusco got 1 extra year, and he cried like a baby. Why are they giving me 1 extra year? He was an immigrant from Italian. Why they give me 1 extra year? Why they give you 1 extra year? Because Bruno said to the FBI that you're a made guy. I'm a no made guy. He's telling them, I'm not a made guy. Who said I'm a made guy? Bruno says you're a made guy, and it's right here in the 302.
The defending Italians on the other side, their law systems, their court systems are a little different. Like you could like discredit your accuser. You could go next to him and you could go
in Italy
tit for tat with him.
Oh, in Italy,
In Italy, yeah. Well, and I wouldn't call some of these guys rats.
It's kind of
funny. But here, no.
It's kind of funny the way they do that.
Oh no, they'd be like Totorina.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Buscetta Arena.
I'm like, oh my God.
They go. You're allowed to discredit them.
Back names. I think they do that kind of in the parliament in Canada or whatever. They kind of, the way they do that.
They do the same shit. Yeah.
So hold on. Okay, so hold on. Second question, Anthony. And again, I'm going to go a little bit about what we talked about privately, on air, but stuff that I read because I was pretty well read on you even prior to meeting you. I kind of hear in the media, but then I hear Bruno was your mentor, but then I hear Bruno wasn't. Can you kind of clarify that a little bit?
So whoever says Bruno, definitely, I would say was my mentor.
Wow.
Yes, okay. I would say definitely in that life. Now, if you want to say in the mob life, he was my mentor.
Got it.
Where did I make the most money? Not from him. I had other mentors that had nothing to do with the mafia and all that bullshit. My mentors were the guys I was in prison with in 1990 at 20 years old. That's where I learned everything. Those were my real mentors. Everything else, Bruno was the official mafia mentor because, and he wasn't even a mentor. I'm going to say, yes, he was a mentor, but he was charismatic. He had nice cars. He was, involved in organized crime. He was a made guy. So that's how he was my mentor. Did he teach me how to do sports bookmaking? No. Did he teach me how to loan shark? Listen, I could tell you stories over and over. I had 400,000 on the street at age like 24, and Bruno never knew nothing about it.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. So it's like he's not my mentor as far as teaching me anything.
Yeah.
I would say he was like somebody I looked up to at a
when this becomes a movie,
a mentor is kind of teaching.
It's going to make it look like you bounced on his knee and he took you fishing. And,
No. Listen, I used to go. I went to Florida with him. I had so much. Yeah. Listen, I could tell you so many stories. One time, I gave this guy a beat and I broke his jaw. I gave him 40 stitches in the head. I broke his ribs.
Yeah.
It was like
you touched them up.
Yeah, it was like a personal thing that happened, and I wanted to kill him. I'd be honest with you. The only reason I didn't kill this, and everybody that knows in this area knows who I'm talking about. The only reason I didn't kill this guy, and I had a few guys with me. He had a few guys with him. I walked into his business and beat the fucking. I was gonna kill him, literally. I mean, I don't mean kill him like beat him. No, I was gonna beat him to death. I wanted to.
You were there. You were there. You were there. You almost there.
Yeah, I was gonna kill him, and the only reason he didn't die was because at his business there was a side door that's always locked. It was a cigar shop, and the cigar door is always locked. Yeah, exactly, right. And he got thrown into it, and the door wasn't locked; it was open, and he went through it. That's what saved him. So, anyways, Bruno calls me down to his restaurant. He says, "What happened to this kid?" He says, I told him, I said, "Yeah, Bruno, I had to slap a kid around." He says, "Okay, fuck it. He did something to you like that? Yeah, good." You should have did worse to him.
Slap him around.
Right. So I told him I slapped him around. So now Bruno calls me down to the restaurant. Come to find out, the kid's father is Bruno's not the boss yet. This guy Babishabelli is the boss.
Yeah.
So this kid's father was good friends with Babishabelli. So Bruno says. So Bruno calls me down and says, "Hey, I thought you said you slapped the guy around." I said, "Yeah, I did." He goes, "The guy's in the hospital. He's got 40 stitches in the head. He's got broken ribs. He's got a broken jaw, and he's going to be in the hospital for a long time." He goes, "You know who his father was?" And I snapped on Bruno. Bruno had this jerk off from Boston with him, right? And I snapped on Bruno. I said, "Bruno, I don't give a fuck who his father is friends with. When he comes out of the hospital, if he doesn't tell me what I need to know, I'm going to kill him."
Wow.
And Bruno, and the guy and this is so funny because my friend Louis
Tom,
was
it's
there.
the mob, God damn it.
And listen, and the guy, my friend was there, and the guy that was with Bruno, he saw me talking. I'm not even a made guy. This is in 2001.
Jeez.
So
I never was a made guy, so.
And I'm telling Bruno, I go, "Bruno, I don't give a fuck who his father is friends with. I go, when he comes out of the hospital, I'm going to kill him if he doesn't tell me what I want to know." And Bruno, the guy next to Bruno, that was some idiot from Boston, he looked at me and he could see in my eyes and the way I was talking. He called me the devil. He goes, "That kid's the devil." He said the way he was talking to Bruno. And because he never saw anybody talk to Bruno that way. But I mean, I was just like, so me and Bruno were really close. He actually took me to Florida right after that. So we went on vacation to Florida, to calm things down in this area. But, and me and Bruno were close. I didn't want to see him die. Bruno was not going to die. I already told this like 100 times, throughout different stories and this and that. Bruno was not going to die at all. Bruno was going to get taken down from a captain to a soldier. That's it. Until that paper came out of him talking to the FBI agent.
I want to get into the why, and then I'm going to skip forward a little bit to what Masino and stuff. We'll get to that. But why do you think he flipped? Because what I read about Bruno from the other side, stand-up guy. Why do you think he did what he did, Anthony?
Well, he didn't flip. I'm not calling him a rat. I'm not saying like it.
Why do you think
Bruno was very sharp.
Yeah.
He's what you would call, as you get older in life, that's why I think Mafia bosses, they put them as boss as they get older, because wisdom and knowledge, they get it all, especially being a Mafia guy your whole life. Can you imagine if you make it to your 60s, the knowledge that you're going to know in the 70s? You know what I mean? Like a Carlo Gambino, those guys with the. So you mean to tell me if Carlo Gambino had a shot to befriend an FBI agent that was going to give him information on who, let's just say, informants are, just like Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
The FBI is going to give him who the informants are, where they got listening devices, where they're bugging your headquarters and all that. You don't think they're going to take that? So Bruno thought that way. Yes.
Yeah, but it was.
And the bad part about it is, you asked me that, he would weaponize that to get rid of his enemies, like an El Chapo, like a Pablo Escobar.
No different.
And just like Greg Scarpa was an informant. Greg Scarpa was murdering everybody under the sun. But what was he doing? If he was given information like that, he was giving it against his enemies, right? He wasn't giving it against his crew. So, I mean, if you're going to kill a guy, then you would kill him. And if you're going to inform on him to get him off the streets, you would inform on him. It's the same way. So I think Bruno had a double, way
agenda
about him.
Well, I'm gonna real quick.
Bruno was a politician, so that's all I can tell you.
Those are the words.
Politician.
I'm gonna give a quick plug. The final version of my Mrs. Pablo Escobar interview is done, and I'm gonna probably upload it tonight or tomorrow. I'm gonna stay tuned. But what I'm getting at is when I spoke to her in the interview, and even afterwards, we talked for a while, and she talks of her husband with a lot of reverence. You know what I mean? So like to the inside, they're good people. That
was her husband.
Yeah,
Pablo was her husband.
Yeah.
And here's a guy that killed thousands of people.
3,000 at least.
Yeah. So and they still had love. He didn't want to go to prison. He did not want to come back to America, just like El Chapo didn't want to come to America to serve time and do the rest of their life in prison. They would have done anything under the sun. They try to make deals with the governments. That's why they got into they try to make deals. Well, listen, I'll give you.
Hey, even Hitler had a girlfriend.
Yeah. So, I mean, and, as ruthless as you are and as crazy and, insane and this and that, you're still a human. and you still love your family, you still love your kids, you still love, you know, and he did. You could just tell in the movie that I watched, he don't want to what he was worried sick about his family.
Well, you know how he got. I didn't go too much into the interview, but my two favorite stories are, one is when he went to the White House and he's the most wanted man in the world, and he takes a picture.
I like that picture
in front of the White House, and I'm gonna try to interview his son. So like, I want to like, I need to know more about that. But number two, he got caught because he called every day or whatever this prescribed times were to the family because he wanted to talk to the son, the daughter, and he wanted to talk to the wife.
He loved his family, yeah.
And back then he would use almost like a ham radio and be on a frequency, right? So he would call, say, "How are you? I love you," blah blah blah. And then the FBI got the CIA involved and they used algorithms to say, okay, if you use this code, he's going to probably use one of these 1,000. And then, you know, they didn't have as much crazy technology as they had back now, but they were able to kind of use algorithms and say, he's going to use one of these 1,000 frequencies. Sure as shit he did. So he actually died because he was a family guy, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, listen, and again, like I got to try to say, everybody, they think like, you know, these notorious mobsters, Al Capone, John Gotti, you know, all these guys, Tommy Karate that chopped up people. They still have a human side. They love their families.
Yep.
If it's a wife or a girlfriend, you love them. It don't mean you can't love. Just listen, I could go out and kill. I could kill. You could go out and kill, right? Doesn't mean that you don't love your children. You don't love your wife. You know what I mean?
Even serial killers. They were, some of them were loving, like that BTK bastard prick. His daughter, he did everything right for her. He did all the things a father does with the daughter. You know, the right things. And look at that guy. He was tying people up, killing them in front of their children, you know. Nazi generals. We could go on. Auschwitz commanders. On and on. Some of the most loving people to their families. And some of the most disgusting people in the world, you know. So now, because Anthony's story's out there, he does some other interviews. I don't want to rehash too much stuff. You obviously, you know, convert, you do what you did, you become Team America, and then you are Cellies with no other. Well, explain who the guy is.
Well, why did you set it up?
Everybody's seen it already. Okay, so Joe Massino was the guy that was legendary to me because he was we were the Bonanno family. I was my like not like Anthony, I wasn't, but was trying to be a member of the Bonanno family. And you know, it's like that part in that movie, The Bronx there, where the guy goes, you know, your guy's bigger up there, but my guy's bigger down here. He was my guy bigger down here. And not to me, to a lot of people growing up. He brought the Bonanno family from almost distinction to back up to being one of the most, am I right? One of the most powerful families in New York. And then it all went down. From everybody started collapsing. And then finally he goes to trial. I testified against him in his trial, and he loses trial, and then he decides to be the biggest cooperator
in history.
In the history of the American Mafia.
Correct.
So there was a lot of questions. Within that time, I was his co-defendant. We had gotten close. We had asking questions. Did I ever think he was going to be a cooperator? Never. Never in a million years. And I could speak that for a lot of other people, too. You know, I want to make this story brief because a lot of people have heard this story, right?
Yeah.
And so there was questions I wanted to ask that I had a talk with Anthony. I was like, Anthony, hold the phone there. Let's save this for something good, because a lot of people want these answers. So let me know when
Anthony, Frank, take it away. Why don't you, Anthony?
I got them. I got them right here. I got them written down. Look.
Let's do it.
I mean, because I want, and there's a lot of people that want to know these questions. So obviously, when you go to WITSEC and you go with other people, their secrets are out to the government, and you get close to people. And now, where you wouldn't tell anybody anything when you're fighting your trial or in population or even dudes in prison for the rest of your life, like you're supposed to, when you go to these WITSEC, you don't care no more, and you let people know. Yeah. So, how do you meet Joe Massino?
Well, first of all, were you made with the Bonannos?
I was not made at all. No.
Okay. You never. So
which another thing I want to ask before back to you though. You were Luke. You made a lot of money in the mob and everything, and there's probably a lot of people watching and saying, you know what? A lot of younger people, and I don't want to sound like people that kids should know better not to get into bad things, okay? But when they listen to like that money that was involved, what's the percentage of people that were making money like you? Because I'm telling you, it wasn't much.
I mean, you don't have to make as much as I was making. I would tell you,
you were one of. I'm telling you, you were the upper echelon.
Yeah, but you didn't have to make that much. I was making over the amount, but to live a good life, if you made 20,000 a month, that's good money. I was making way more. I was in prison making 100,000 a month while I was in prison. So yeah, from 05 to 08. So I mean, for me, I'm a different level. But the kids today, they just need to know is don't join gangs and don't use violence, but go out and make money and use the laws. The government says like marijuana is legal right now, right? So
I get that.
Right. I get that. I mean, use your mental.
We don't though. That's it. The young Frank Fiordilino listens to Anthony Arillotta say, "I want to be that fucking guy. That guy had it." And that's where I went wrong.
They should be me before I had anything to do with the mob. They should be me. I owned dozens of businesses. I was a multi-millionaire. I had the best, beautiful woman. I had a beautiful wife. I had a beautiful family. I had cars. I had the best food. Yes, be me. Just don't join the mafia and don't kill anybody.
Oh, absolutely. And don't use violence. Absolutely. There's a better way. That's what you're saying. Yes. Okay, back to Joe. What happened?
That way. So, Joe, when I first went into prison, I got indicted in 2010. I faced the death penalty, life in prison. Anyways, first year in prison, I'm in New York prison. Then I get moved to this New Jersey. When I get moved into New Jersey, I'm sitting there and they tell me I'm going into the unit. I walk into the unit and my cellie is, I'm going to cell 221. As I'm walking to 221, I noticed this guy who right away I recognize as Joe Massino. Wow. They told me, and it was this Mexican that was bringing me there. It's funny fucking bastard. He was a Mexican mafia boss. So he says, come here, you're coming in. He goes, I'm going to show you. What cell are you in? I go, I'm in 221. He goes, come on, I'll bring you there. So he brings me over to 221. He goes, this is your cell. Joe Massino happens to be there, big fat belly. He goes, hey, kid, how you doing? I go, good. I go, I'm your new cellie. He goes, oh, okay, kid. Now, Joe was pissed because the biggest thing in there, you had access to single cells. Right. Here he sees me coming in, and right away he's like, he hates me because he's going to lose his single
seniority,
cell.
Whatever. Yeah, it's low right now.
Single cell, he's going to lose his single cell. I'm coming in to move in with him. So I said, hey, I said, hey, how you doing? I'm your new cellie. He goes, oh, really? And you could tell right away he was devastated. Not because of me, because of a cellie. Then he goes, how you doing? I'm Joe. I go, yeah, I know who you are. And right when I said that, he put on that look like, you know who I am. How the fuck you know who I am? Because he don't know if I'm Italian. I could be a Mexican.
Like, who the fuck are you?
You know me? He's probably thinking like, who's the government? Who they putting in my cell? Like, how the fuck does this kid know who I am?
Paranoid.
Anyways, I said, I'm Anthony and this and that. And so that's how I met him. First night when we get locked in, they say, lock in. I go into the cell. He asked me right away. He goes, you a friend? I said, yeah. He goes, who are you with? I go, I'm with the West Side. He goes, really? And then right away he starts, he's asking questions. And
who do you know?
Yeah, exactly. Who was the bosses? Who was there out there now and blah, blah, blah. And I was cellies with him for about 4 months. I mean, we had a great time. There was times we were up till 4 a.m. laughing. Then there was times we didn't talk to each other for like 2 or 3 days. We were, we were mad at each other. And
people ask me a lot. They ask me a lot, and I don't mean that. I'm sorry. It's just they ask me a lot. What is he like? And I think we agreed on it.
Yeah, Joe's very sharp. Joe, you could tell why he's a boss.
Very observant.
He's very. Listen, Joe's to be a boss.
Frank, take the lead. Frank, I'll be back. Frank, take the lead.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example, like with Joe. Like he told me about a couple of people why he killed them and this and that. But
right, I'm gonna get to that.
When you're a boss, you have to you can't let your emotions get involved. So if somebody says something to you, and you don't like what they said or they did something to insult you, you're not going to expose yourself.
You're not going to show that. He was a master at that.
He's very
Even if
shrewd.
he didn't like the simplest stuff.
He's very shrewd. He's very greedy.
He let you hang himself. He'll let you talk, and then he'll crack a joke. He likes to do that. Very sharp.
He's very, very greedy, and he's very You know, in that life, he could get away with it as the boss. He talked about everybody. Soon as a guy come in the room, he'd be talking with him. As soon as he left, the guy's a fucking jerk off. He'd talk about everybody behind the back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Famous for that.
Well, he became a regular person real quick when he was in the WITSEC unit. Nobody gave a fuck about him no more. But so he took a transition.
Right.
You know,
That's true.
You know, he took a transition, so he had to be careful too. Did he ever talk about who did he talk about the 3 captain murders?
Yeah, the anniversary when it came up. He said he told me, he goes, today's the day we killed the 3 captains.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And he would remember that
day. Yeah.
Did he have any
details? Obviously, he said none of that shit is true in the movie Donnie Brasco.
Donnie Brasco film.
Yeah, which everybody, you know. But
we kind of knew that. Yeah.
He just said that today's the anniversary where we clipped the 3 captains. And
how about Giorgio?
Who?
Giorgio from the Bronx. Georgie. Does he talk about him at all? Yes.
Georgie from Canada?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, he told me. So
was it TG or was it just because he was afraid he was elevating?
No.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, one of my things went out.
No, I hear you. I hear you fine.
Okay. So, hello now.
Good.
Okay, so Georgie from Canada, and again, so it was funny with Joe because I would never ask him questions. I would never ask him, you know, oh, you killed the 2 captains?
No, I get it.
Who did it? You know, why'd you guys do it? I never asked questions like that.
But they played out to that, but why did he do it?
So, he had another cellie one time. It was an Italian guy that was in the Banana family. I forget the name. I can remember it, but anyway.
This was in WITSEC or population?
Yeah, WITSEC.
In WITSEC.
And he was talking to the guy, and the guy would ask him like questions, like I said, I want it. And Joe looked at the guy and said, listen, Joe made the guy. The guy was a made guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he goes, listen, I told you when I made you. Now he's talking to him like they're still like made.
They're still in the life. Yeah.
He goes, I told you when you made, once you commit murder, we never talk about it ever again. And so he's telling the guy, like, you know. So anyways, with Georgie from Canada, what happened was, he said, Georgie came to me and they clipped a guy in Canada. They killed somebody. Georgie told Joe that they killed a guy in Canada, and Joe said, really? Now, Joe was the boss of the family, and Joe didn't give him permission to prove of the murder.
That was the Lepresky guy. Okay.
So he said, why did you do that? Joe played dumb, like very sharp and shrewd, and he said, why'd you do that? And he said, well, because I knew you, the guy Georgie said, I knew you would have gave me the okay, but he did this, this, and this. So I clipped him. And he said, oh wow. Good. He goes, good, you're right. I would have gave you the cut. He said, Anthony, as soon as he told me that, he said, I knew I was clipping this guy. And then weeks later, he had that guy, Patty DiFilippo, and I think Johnny Joe. Did you know Johnny Joe, Spirito guy?
I knew them both, and I met them while I was going. I was ready to go to trial.
No, they're dangerous guys, right there.
Oh yeah. They superseded him. I actually like Johnny Joe. I mean, with the thing I got from him, Patty not too much. He was just a strange bird, but then he broke out and he was nice at one point. It wasn't not that he was bad. He was just to himself. Johnny Joe was very pleasant, and you could tell he breathes that life. You know, people say
he's the real deal.
You know, when you were talking about you getting made, and they ask you that one question: if your kid is sick in bed, or you come and you come and we call for you,
Right.
What is it going to be?
Right.
Johnny's probably one of the few that would follow that order. He's Cosa Nostra till he dies. He definitely is.
Right.
That's what I got from him. Always pleasant. How you doing? How's everything? Good luck in your trial. Whatever. He's that guy. He's Cosa Nostra.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's what I got out of him. Other question. What we got here? The most important one probably. Why did he flip?
He took it to trial, and
no, I know why he flipped, but why did he ever tell you why? Was it? And I always felt it was a money thing.
So he took it to trial. He played he gambled. He lost. Right at the trial, he reached out to the prosecutor and said that he wanted to talk with him, and he set up a deal. And what he told me was that Vinny, the one that he put as acting
Gorgeous,
boss,
Vinny Gorgeous.
Right, Vinny Gorgeous. Vinny was making elevating guys without Joe's approval.
That's right.
Putting guys as captain. Vinny,
he felt he was losing his grip.
One of the things he told me was that he brought his wife money one time, and it was wrapped up in something, and it was supposed to be a certain amount, and it was only like 50,000, and so he just felt that,
they got him for that. He's going to do life.
All his power. He lost all his power. He lost all his. He was a multimillionaire. He had He had $8 million in cash and gold bars in his cellar, and the feds, and he had like about $14 million in properties. Well, once he flipped, he gave up his $8 million in cash and the gold, and they got to keep his real estate property. His properties, right? So basically, that's it. I mean, he did. Right. There's no other way to say it. I mean, he was done. He was going to die in prison, and
I felt
go out like that. Yeah. And I think another reason, he's very treacherous. I think.
Without a doubt.
When guys rise to that level, you have to be treacherous.
I mean,
and when you rise to that level, and you're that treacherous, then what's the ultimate treachery? Is, okay, I'm going to die in prison? No, I'm not. You're going to die in prison, and that's the ultimate treachery.
Right. At the end, he played, like somebody would say, he played chess, and he won.
Yeah.
That's how he takes it out.
I mean,
Yeah.
He was
I still have a thought. How do you feel about? I always tell people he used to call his brother-in-law Salvatore Fredo. Did he have any love for Salvatore?
No, he hated Sal. It was his brother's wife.
He
hated him, and
he didn't talk much
he loved
about
his.
him. I get it.
He loved his wife. He he loved his family. But he was I had a lot of good times with him. Very treacherous, very funny. We stayed in bed. I was on the top bunk. We laughed till 4 a.m. sometimes. One time, I mean, we had so much fucking fun, and it was just a lot of fun. I was in the top bunk, and it was just we made the best of it. And I was
he's a funny guy.
Yeah, he is.
He is a funny guy, but definitely has a different agenda.
He had a funny look to him too when you told him stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, didn't you say Jackie Gleason or something?
Yeah, Jackie Gleason.
Yeah.
Jackie Gleason, who could turn into the fucking some real evil devil in a minute.
Yes. Yep, that's him.
The grin, the faces. You knew when he was annoyed, even though he tried to hide it.
Oh, we went to our little thing. The Bruins were playing for the Stanley Cup championship. I'm from Mass, so Boston Bruins were playing, and I'm the Selly, and he didn't like hockey, so we had an argument. He didn't want to watch the game. I had to listen to it on the radio, so we didn't talk for like 3 or 4 days. So when he was in Florida, he brought a bunch of clams. You can't get clams where we were in New Jersey, so he brought like about 10, 15 bags of clams. He was gonna make linguine and clams. He said, "Kid, don't worry. We're gonna cook good. We're gonna make a lot of. I'm gonna make you linguine and clams and this and that." So when we went through our little spot where we weren't talking, he came in like a girl. He came walking into the
Sure.
cell. He opened up the locker. Boom. Put about 5 bags of clams on the locker. Took out
Oh,
a
he's
couple
gonna
pounds
show
of
you, yeah.
pasta. Locked the locker back up and left the cell with the clams and the linguine. And then next
Awesome.
thing you know, a little bit later, him and this other guy that he used to play gin with were eating the linguine and clams. So that was my punishment. He didn't let me eat the linguine and clams with him.
Yeah, he's spiteful fucking fat
Yeah.
fucker.
But when he left, we hugged, we kissed.
Yeah.
Said we're going to stay in touch in the future. And I mean, we got along for 90% of the time.
Yeah, I knew once he didn't like when he would hear something. We would always go to these especially when I was around him. He'd go like this and just do one of these. And that I knew things was going in his mind that he didn't like.
Right.
He was having a hard time with this one guy, this lawyer that was bringing him messages from the outside, this Tony Lee guy, whatever his name is. He ended up flipping. He was the go-between apparently for Vinny Gorgeous and Joe Massino. So he was like always giving him a look, So one day he calls me over. He goes, Frankie, this kid from your neighborhood? I don't want to mention him because he's active. I said, yeah, I figured. I don't know where he was getting at with this, but I've gotten real close to him at the time that there was questions he could ask me that you wouldn't ask a normal associate, if you will. So I said, yeah, I know him. What about him? Is he in trouble? That was a mistake. I shouldn't even said that. He goes, no. A friend of mine is asking about him, and that was the guy on the outside who was relating the message was Vinny. I said, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, okay. He's just asking if he's a good kid. I said, yeah, he's a good kid. He's just, a little like anybody else. Rule number 2, you just say yes or no. Just always say yes, whatever. And he goes, okay. Then I found out that he made this kid. He was asking me if the kid was good. And this was going on while this guy was looking at 8 bodies. You know what I mean?
Right.
So a lot of stuff was going in his mind. So I could see where he was getting a little aggravated with what was going on the outside. Doesn't mean he had a flip, though. Were you surprised when he flipped?
This day and age, no. I mean, don't forget, this was back, I think, around 2003, 2004?
2005.
2005?
2004.
Okay, so I mean, for a guy like this, this day and age, no. For him, maybe. I mean, it was a shock, obviously, to the whole underworld. It was like a big shock, a guy like him flipping. But when it's all said and done,
right,
he was going to die in prison. And
is anybody left in the chat? And you see anybody in the chat? I don't see him.
I don't know where you look for them.
Oh, I don't know. It's all good. Where's Tom?
Tom said for you to take over. He'd be right back.
Are you getting tired?
No, but I don't see where you. How do you see like people in the chat?
No, he does. He usually. I don't know. They usually. Yeah. Hey, anybody left out there? Anybody have a question? Guess not. All right. Yeah. So this day and age, you were saying, not unheard of.
No, it's not unheard for anybody. Nobody can say who's going to be who flip when they're going to die in prison. You can't listen to a guy and said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to take it and I'm going to do the rest of my life in prison. I'll die in prison." You can't believe that person. You don't know what's going to happen. And these guys are flipping. I had guys in my area that were facing no time and that went to the feds because they owe loan sharks money.
Oh yeah.
So it's like they're going to the loan sharks. They're wearing wires against the Genovese family associates because they owe loan shark money. There's no charges.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like today you don't know who's going to flip in any organization at any given time. You don't know who's going to flip.
No, you've seen it all.
Yeah. And the like I said, we were talking about the kids. The smart move is you don't do anything to get yourself a life in. You stay away from the violence. You stay away from the murders. You stay away from the.
Yeah, you mind your business. That's what my mom always used to tell me. I mean, we came from a mob family.
It's not that you're minding your business. When it comes to that, like in our life.
No, I mean mind your business. Stay away from the criminal aspects. That's what I mean.
Well, no, because if you're a criminal, you're still going to make the easy money. But what I'm saying is that when it gets to that point where they said, well, this guy owes us some money, he's not paying, let's go kill him. No, I'm not killing nobody.
Nobody. Fuck it. My money's lost. Yeah, you're right.
You're right. I mean?
You're right.
That's where all the problems come.
All right, listen. I'm getting tight, Ant. You ready to go?
Hold on, guys.
Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on.
Oh God, here he comes.
Give me 2 more minutes with your Q&A, then we'll wrap up. Give me 2 more minutes. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Where'd it go?
You're getting Frankie. You're getting tired.
Well, fuck it. He's like Jimmy Hoffa. I thought they killed him.
Did you already eat?
Oh shit! I stay eating, bro.
Do you?
Yeah, ever since fucking like everything. No, I gotta watch. I got high blood pressure. I gotta watch my pre-diabetes and all that other crap. You know, the 50-year-old people problem. I put on like 60 pounds in 3 years. So.
Oh, you got to start getting to the gym.
Oh, I do go to the gym. That's the funny thing about it. I work out. Now I gotta watch. I gotta watch what I eat.
Right.
Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah,
we'll see.
You gotta watch. Yeah, exactly. You got to get to the gym, and you got a busy day during the day.
Well, no, I just my metabolism. I mean, listen. Even when they put me in a hole, I was the only person to go in a hole 30 days later and gain 15 fucking pounds. Who the fuck gains that? You know what I mean? I get COVID. I'm in bed for about 19 days. I gained fucking like 10 pounds.
All right. Sorry, guys. I had some familiar duties. We're going to wrap it up soon. Final questions. Chad McDonough. Frank, ask Anthony if you knew Steven Stielko.
There you go. Did you know him? Steven Stielko.
So. Where's he from? Like, don't ring
Where was he from?
From Boston.
Steven. How you say the name?
Stielko.
I don't know. It doesn't right off the top of my head. It doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah.
Wait, is he a Greek guy?
Sounds like an Italian name from Boston.
Okay. I don't know if I know him.
No worries. All right, listen. We had a good one. I had a run, but I was listening in. Gold tonight. Epic stuff. Really some first ever discussed stuff. So I want to thank the chat. I want to thank anybody contributing on super chats. I want to thank Anthony Arillotta. I want to thank Frank. Frank, thank you for covering for me. It means a lot.
It was fun. Anthony,
Frank, you did great. Frank did a great job in your absence, Tom.
I was nervous.
See, Frank, it's not easy carrying a show, man. See?
No, you're right. You're right about that.
I will say, though, he was getting a little tired.
Tired.
Yeah, a little tired. That's it.
Hey, look, I want to watch the rest of the content creators in a little bit. They're all doing their thing tonight, and I can't wait to watch them. They're fun as well.
Cool. Who's that?
All of them. You got a whole bunch of them. Who you got? You got Nadeau. You got FBS.
Oh, you mean other things like this? Oh yeah. Tom, thanks for having me on. Thanks for.
You got Angel. Right? Give her a plug.
Stay in touch. Always. You got all my information.
Absolutely.
Let's stay in touch. You're a gentleman, and we got to get together in person. And have a nice.
We had a good time.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we got to do that.
All right. Cool deal.
Again, Frank, thanks, and everybody being on the chat. Sorry for me leaving, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks again, guys.
All right. You have a